Oh, hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. It is Friday, December 6th. It's only 19 days until Santa's going to be here. You just got to start that countdown. It's going by quickly. Ho, ho, ho. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. It is Friday. Massive Iron is the longest running podcast live Q&A in the history of the world. And if anybody doubts it, just keep looking back forever. I've been here forever. I will always be here. I've been doing this forever, so I appreciate you guys joining me. Just a couple things about Massive Iron Live. This is a Q&A. I am here to help you, so don't hesitate to post your questions up. Doesn't matter if they've been asked a million times before or what. So post them on up. Diet, train, nutrition, off topic, as long as it's not religion, politics, or stupid steroid comments, right? We're good to go. So how is everybody doing? I survived Black Friday, had a lot of support. I appreciate you guys. I still have, all my Black Friday deals up on my website. And for those of you guys that do not know what my website is up there, superlivingtoday.com. If you hear noise up above, my wife just got home and my dogs are going crazy. So as far as comments go, know this. If I don't censor any comments unless they're obviously vulgar or rude, but if your question doesn't go through, try rewording it. Sometimes if a comment is too long or a question is too long, YouTube will not show it to me. If it is uses a naughty word that YouTube doesn't like, sometimes it doesn't show me. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you are late to the party and you want to ask me a question directly, you can go over to Instagram, DM me at Ben the Barman. In fact, just come on over and follow me. I'd love to connect. I answer every question on there, so I'm always there to help. Instagram is kind of my place where I post non-YouTube content, just random thoughts and stuff like that. etc. So how you guys doing? You're freezing your ass off. I'm freezing my ass off. I got my space heater on. A couple things before we get started. I do have a bunch of Black Friday deals, and I'm just going to call them seasonal deals over at superlivingtoday.com. You can go over there. I'm going to show you real quick, if you don't mind. We'll just do a quick commercial, and then we'll get on with things, because I'm a small business. I rely on your support to be able to do this. So I've had a very successful small business for about 5 years now. Before I get into this, I want to mention something. Okay, I want to thank you guys for your support. Something big has happened. Last year, I was voted the Coach of the Year, Best Coach of the Year by Trainerize, the world's largest coaching and online training platform. They have 400,000 fitness professionals on that platform, and they voted me the best coach of the year. I couldn't do it without you guys. I couldn't do it without your support. I try to give you guys the best information and guidance I can. So if that wasn't enough, surprise this week that Trainerize emailed me and said, lo and behold, I was nominated on a short list, 5 people, for Coach of the Year again. So I'm not worried about winning. It's just an honor to be nominated, right? But I will find out today after 1 p.m. And wish me luck. It would be kind of cool to go back to back. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're probably going to give that honor to somebody else. But outside of awards and all that kind of crap, it is satisfying, because this is what I do for a living. This is my passion. Every coach kind of goes through what you would call imposter syndrome. And for me, I'm always trying to refine what I do, what I teach, etc. I just want to give you guys a sincere thank you, because none of this is possible without you. I know that sounds kind of cliche when we say it, but it is absolutely true, and I could not mean it any more than I do. So before we get into the questions, real quick, hold on. Post up your questions. I want to show you something. And this is my website, Super Living Today. This will only take a minute. I got some really good deals over here if you're looking for Christmas ideas, holiday ideas, or you just want to get your act together training-wise. As far as coaching goes, I'm with my clients every single day, Monday through Friday. We communicate, we do form checks, we evolve things. I'm not a check-in once a week spreadsheet guy. That's just not how I do things. So if you go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, and you search black, okay? Where is it? You should see the Black Friday deals down here, Massive Iron Black Friday deals. I have a new massive assessment service for only $29.99. Basically, you answer 30 to 40 questions, and I do a video over what your questions are to help you improve, what you can refine, training, nutrition, form-wise, etc. You can find all of this stuff on the menu up here. Real quick, a year of coaching special. This is my most popular. $7.99 for a year. It saves $333 off a year of coaching. This is available for new and existing clients. And my rate is cheap. It's only $89.40 after the first month to begin with. But you boil this down, you're getting an absolutely incredible amount of savings. I'm going to be releasing a video soon about me and Mark doing 2 custom workouts. Hold on for that. I got hats over in the apparel section. Really cool now. The massive omnibus, you can see the omnibus in the menu. Each book is only $14.99 if you don't want to buy the complete thing. Custom workouts are only $39.99. This is an extremely popular service. I have 5 of them to do tomorrow. The Massive Iron t-shirt is only $14.99. Phone consultations are down from $99 to $59. And I have this awesome Trend Days of Christmas, one of my favorite shirts. Now, over at the store, you can just hit services, and you can see the assessment or the custom workout or the phone consultation. So that's under store and services. Coaching, that's the coaching tab. That's pretty self-explanatory. You got the services tab here too. Workouts, I got tons and tons of workout options. Omnibus, this is my massive omnibus series. Each book's at least 250 pages. And if you go over to apparel, and we'll search this by, we'll go new to old. You can see a lot of the new hats. You got the cuff beanie, the waffle beanie, nice embroidery on the hats, trucker hats, snapbacks, and all kinds of crazy stuff over here. I'm not an apparel company, but when you buy something like this, it puts a couple dollars in my pocket. The Trend Days of Christmas shirts are awesome, one of my favorite shirts. And we just have a lot of fun stuff like massive ramen and just tons and tons of random t-shirts. So enough of that. Let's get into questions, shall we? Let's get rolling. Rico, good morning. Rico, glad to have you on board. Rico sent me a bunch of LMNT cans and drinks, so I've been electrolyted up. So thank you, Rico. What is the most unconventional, surprising technique you've used to help someone break through a fitness plateau? I don't think, okay. I would say over the years, I was going to kind of comb through this and overanalyze things a little bit. But I think it's got to be the 5, 10, 10, 20 program, the bench press program. I started doing this in South Carolina, I don't know, about 10 years ago. I just came up with it, right? I noticed that with each subsequent set, if you do like 5 and then 5 and 10, I started actually with 7 sets, 5, 5, 10, 10, 10, 15, 20, or whatever it was. I don't remember. But I noticed with each subsequent set, my central nervous system would kind of get a little bit more awake or aware. So I put this into a program, and it has been by far and away my most successful and popular bench press program. You move people from a lot of low rep work to a little bit more higher rep work. And generally, you see people add 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds onto their bench press in a short period of time, 2 to 6 months, which is a really good spike. And it's been consistent. I've had a lot of good feedback on this program. So it would have to be the 5, 10, 10, 20. You're adding volume. You're kind of conditioning your central nervous system. And it's just kind of super engaging. I have gotten up to, oh man, I'm trying to remember, with a bench press slingshot, like 275 for 20. It's just fun, right? It's just a little bit challenging and fun and different. One of my favorite ways to train the bench. So I would have to say that. There are a lot of programs, a lot of things, like anything I give to you guys, it's something I'm doing here in the gym. And some things I just come up in cuckoo land, like I'm going to try this today. And, then I put it into an article because I like it and people use it, and it just took off. So, Rico, what's one fitness myth you wish more people understood was false? And how does believing it hold people back? I think there are so many, that I see on a daily basis. I don't think not focusing on your nutrition is a myth, right? That's just laziness, right? Underestimating the impact, because a lot of people really work hard on their training, but they don't back it with proper nutrition. I think what holds them back, there's a lot of myths, but what holds people back? I think the biggest thing would have to be a time waster. What wastes our time? When we start to program help, why do we program help? Because there's so much content out here. This exercise is crap. This split is better. This exercise is better. Try doing seated, cable extend or seated tricep press downs this way. On and on and on. So much confusion. And this content creates constriction, right? It tightens it. You might be in the gym just crushing it, doing a lot of good things. And then you'll watch some of this content and it strikes fear in your heart. Like, I got to change this exercise or change this split or whatever. And we start to hop around because we become afraid. This is shit content, folks. These people, while I'm not going after the specific fitness influencers, are doing you harm. They are doing injustice. Fitness is not complicated. Lifting and muscle building is not complicated. There are no magic exercises. There are no magic splits. There are no magic programs. There are reasonable exercises, classic. There are reasonable splits, right? We want to create freedom and open doors to train. Training is an art form. You want to be passionate. You want to train hard. You want to have progressive overload. You want to nail your nutrition. These are all the massive iron pillars of success, right? But these content producers that are just putting out crap for dollars, because that's what they're doing, like Greg Doucette said, spews for views, spews for views, spews for views. Let's create up some bullshit. Today it's lunges aren't effective. Let's try this. Anything to get your views. You know what? I don't live on views, thankfully. I coach full time. I love coaching. I love coaching full time. I love working with people. And you learn a hell of a lot more working with people than you do just creating some bullshit, pulling out of your ass and telling people you're doing tricep extensions wrong. Watch my magic video. Confuse, confuse, confuse. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a myth. The myth that this stuff actually makes any difference, right? That's a myth. These content producers are wasting your time. They're stealing your freedom, and it's completely unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. And when they waste your time, that is the biggest crime. And that's what they're doing. They frame this content like it's somehow going to help you. And all it's doing is stealing your time and stealing your mental capacity and just driving you down and tighter and constricting and constricting. And I will tell you what, muscle building and strength building is not like that. You doubt me? Look at the strongest people in the world, the strongest power lifters. They all train differently, folks. Look at all the top bodybuilders, all the top naturals and unnaturals and whoever the hell you want to look at. They all train differently. Why? Because there aren't magic ways. There are reasonable ways. It's a wide path. It's not a narrow road. And that's the good news, folks. That is the good news. That is the gospel of muscle building. You check out my series, Massive Omnibus. That's what it's all about. That's the Bible of lifting, my Bible of lifting. I want to open doors for you guys. And people that close doors, constrict, tell you it's a narrow road, they are full of shit. All right, Rico. And you can quote me and you can say it to their face and you can comment on their posts. And if they don't like it, too bad, they are. How do you tailor fitness programs to fit different personality types or motivation styles? The honest truth is we don't get to know different personality types or motivation just from answering questions, right? I can give you a list of questions and you can give me answers, but I don't get to know you until I work with you, right? Excuse me. So in coaching, when I give we do a phone consultation, right? 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour right out of the gate. And we comb through as much as we can. And I try to get to know someone as much as I can. But this just gives us a starting point, right? So what happens, the reason why I like daily communication in coaching is because we can get to know each other. I'll comb through things, questions. What do you think of this exercise? This bothering your elbow? A lot of times my clients might be like, why does he keep asking these weird questions or redundant questions? Because I'm trying to comb through things. I'm trying to turn over stones. If I don't ask you, Rico, hey, anything bothering your elbow? You might forget to tell me, or you might not even be aware of it. Or you might say, yeah, now that you mention it, cable tricep extensions are bothering my elbow. Can we do something different? So I ask questions. I try to ask every client a question each day, right? Some of them might not understand why I do that, but we're turning over things. We're trying to refine. It's like putting a bunch of stones into one of those machines and it keeps tumbling and tumbling and polishing until they become smooth. That's kind of the process that I do with coaching. I check in on their workouts. I say, hey, everything looks good. How's your workout time? They'll tell me things I'm struggling to get in, enough, finish the workout in an hour and 15 minutes, or I don't like this or like that. We learn by walking together. Does that make sense? I have a lot of people that come to me for custom workouts. It's one of my most popular services, but we don't get that opportunity to work together on a daily basis. So I can give you a program based on what I know. And that's a good starting point. But the magic is always going to be in the evolutionary process, the refinement process, if that makes sense. Big Joe B, a client of mine. How's it going, Big Joe B? Why is the hex bar deadlift good for coming back from a back injury? He's talking about lower back versus conventional. All right. So on a conventional deadlift, the bar is in front of you. Okay. You are behind the bar. Now, when you grab the bar, there's going to be some of your weight, your head, and some of your torso a little bit in front of the bar. But for the most part, your body weight is going to be behind the bar. So you're going to have to lean forward, and that's going to place more stress, not crazy stress, not inordinate stress on your lower back, right? When you are doing a high handle hex bar, the bar is in the middle of the body, okay? On a conventional deadlift, the bar is in front of the body. On a high handle deadlift for someone with a lower back injury, the bar is over the middle of the body, the center of the feet, the center of the torso, the center of the body. That improves leverage position and takes stress off your lower back and your spine. Rico, in your years of lifting, what was your favorite physique that you had? And would you be able to achieve it again? Absolutely. I was really at my peak probably around age 46 to 50. I want to beat that. I really, really do. I wasn't even super lean. I was about 20 to 24% body fat. And I can definitely beat that. I'm not going to get any bigger. I'm not going to get any stronger, but I can get leaner. So it was around that age. And I feel fine training wise. The only thing that I struggle with right now is I love coaching so much that I work a lot of 12 to 14-hour days, and I have to find time to get my butt over in the gym. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Paul just sent me a generous gift. Paul is a member of Team Massive. If you guys want to join my Discord server, you can check out the link in the description box to any of my videos this week. Just click it. Come on over. We would love to have you. We got a really good community. So, Yvonne, how's it going, Yvonne? Whoops, there we go. Good to have you over here, Yvonne, from Team Massive. In your opinion, let me get a drink. We got the Monster Purple today. We had this a little bit earlier. In your opinion, is there any long-term value in incorporating static holds? Look, I've tried this over the years. There is some thought, there is a concept or a belief. I wouldn't call it a belief. It can have some value that if you add, say, 10% of weight on your squats and you just unrack and walk it out and stand there for 20 seconds, that it will warm up, awaken, aware the central nervous system. And it does. And then when you go to move down to your working sets and the weight feels lighter, it's going to feel lighter, much lighter, because of the central nervous system stimulation. Deadlifts, the problem is you're going to have to unrack from high, so you can't deadlift 10% more than your max, right? So you're going to have to unrack from high and you're going to have to hold it. No, not on deadlifts. I would never do that. You're better off doing a few more singles or doubles or ramping warm-up sets. Squat or bench, I've done it over squat and bench, I've done it over the years. Do I find value in it? There is potentially some minor value as far as your central nervous system, but you're going to invest extra time doing this, putting plates on, walking it out. It's going to take 5 to 10 extra minutes or whatever during your workout. Do I feel this is the best way? No, I think you could just do an extra warm-up set and get some central nervous system value. At the end of the day, sure, you can get under the weight and it's going to feel a little bit lighter, but is this going to improve your performance over time? No. If you want to work or overload in the long run and really work your central nervous system, in my opinion, you're better off getting a bench press slingshot device, which overloads on the top end and allows you to use more weight than your max. Same thing with squats. You could get chains, right? I like using chains. I would recommend getting chains if you have a home gym for your bench or your squat, because you're able to overload and get that central nervous system conditioning. But don't get so caught up in this that it becomes an obsession, or you feel it's going to be a dramatic game changer. It really, really won't be. And it's going to cost you some extra time. Is there any harm in playing around with it? No. Will you find that once you go from a static hold on squat to a lighter weight that it feels lighter? Yes. Is this really going to rocket your squat up over time? No, not really. Ernie, congratulations for making the short list for Coach of the Year. Well deserved. Thank you, Ernie. I sincerely appreciate it. Ernie's a client of mine. Big Jimmy Cooksworth. Aside from a client of mine, any particular reason why you would do threes? Any reason why you would do threes versus DDP on specific lifts? Trying to look like Rambo. Okay, so threes, basically your first set's going to be between 5 to 8 reps, depending on what weight you have on the bar. So the second set, you're going to drop weight 10% and perform max reps. And the third set, you're going to drop weight 10% and perform max safe reps. That's how threes work. On threes, when you hit about 7 or 8 reps on the top set, then you add 5 pounds the next time into the gym, and you adjust your back down sets by 10%. So Nothing magic. It's just a nice way to push those heavy lifts and push them safely hard, and it has a defined progression indicator. DDP, each of the 3 sets has its own progression indicator. On threes, only your top set has a progression indicator. So when you hit 7 or 8 on that top set, then you move up in weight the next time in the gym. On DDP, every set has its own progression indicator. So it might be 8 for the first set, 10 for the second set, 12 for the third set, or 7, 9, 11, or whatever you want to use. It doesn't really matter. But is there any advantage? No. Both of these protocols, you're pushing sets for max safe reps. Which one is better? Neither is better. Whatever you prefer is better, right? So test them both out. The only disadvantage to either of them is you have to change weight, in between sets. So they're equal in that way. So there's no advantage at all. There's none whatsoever. The DDP gives you the advantage because you can progress in weight on 3 different sets. So if you want to live in that world, then go for it. There's no magic way. All I do is give people ideas. And the reason is you might connect better with one than another. So that's the one we're going to run with. Barbell Beauty from Team Massive Discord. Happy Freitag. Any suggestions for back exercises that don't irritate the lat muscles? That's going to be highly personal, and it's hard for me to answer because you have to feel things out. You could try chest supported row. You could try an inverted row. You could try, I don't know, all the basics. You have your dumbbell row, barbell row, pendley row, and Yates row, and machine rows. And in the gym, you might have high to low rows and low to high rows and ho-ho-hos and all kinds of rows, right? So it's hard to say. I can't say because anytime you get a strain or pain or ache, the honest truth is you have to try things. There's no magic way to understand if a muscle or a tendon or a piece of connective tissue is going to be involved in a specific movement pattern on a specific machine or with a specific piece of equipment until you try it. So I wish I could give you an answer on that, but the answer is to be conservative and try new things. Amanda P., what's going on, Amanda? Opinions on good mornings. Now, there are a couple different types of good mornings. You have the bodybuilding good morning where you have your feet more narrow and you kind of bend, right? And you're working the lower back. If you want to do a little bit of lower back work like that, that's fine. The thing you have to focus on is keeping your lower back tight and your core tight and only bending to the point where you can sustain that tightness. You don't want to arbitrarily go as deep as you can. And then compromise your lower back tightness to the point where we're going to strain it. So a good morning bodybuilding style, your feet are generally more normal, and you're going to bend you're going to do a hip hinge, you're going to bend at the waist. An RDL and a more powerlifting hip and glute focus good morning, where you're trying to load the hamstrings, you're going to bend by pushing the hips back, right? Like you're trying to push something behind you with your butt. So that's the difference between like a bodybuilding good morning and an RDL or its equivalent when you're trying to work the hamstrings. On that type of good morning, I want you to kind of take a slightly more wider stance, okay? Because I like to have a good foundation. I don't like to go super narrow and try to push my hips back. So slightly wider, not ultra wide. And in this hamstring focused, more posterior chain focused good morning that's trying to work the hamstrings and not just the lower back, we focus on driving the glutes back to load the hamstrings. For those of you that don't like the RDL, or for those of you that don't want to go from a squat to an RDL in a workout, you can go from a squat to a good morning. So you're going to move to lighter weight. This is something I used to do in the late 2000s. I would move from a squat to a good morning, and then the weight's going to feel lighter on your back because of your because it is lighter and your central nervous system has been stimulated a little bit. And you don't have to change equipment. You don't have to go from a squat exercise to loading up a barbell for RDLs. So I hope that helps a little bit. Big Papa Juice. I just finished a 3-month bulk and started my cut in December. How much initial weight loss would you say is typical water weight? A couple, 2, 3, 4 pounds, right up to 5 pounds. If you're trying to cut 10 to 12 pounds, I would probably go at least 12, 13, 14. What we learn is, and what I have people do after a cut is go back to 5 days at maintenance. One of the reasons why I do this is because it'll kind of tell us how much water weight we're going to gain back at maintenance, right? And that kind of is indicative of how much water weight you might lose going from a cut or a bulk or maintenance into a cut. So while it's not foolproof, while it's not a defined science, while it's not 100% accurate, after a cut, going to maintenance level for 5 days, we can kind of see that equalization of water weight a little bit. So whatever that happens to be, 2, 3, 4 pounds, then when you're doing the bulking and cutting cycle, I would add at least 10 onto that, if that makes sense. Harris, how's it going, Harris? From Team Massive Discord. Shelly, a client of mine, Shelly. Good morning, Team Massive, and my coach of the year. Thank you, Shelly. Shelly from the West Coast, Best Coast, out there in Oregano. Appreciate the opportunity to work with her. Shelly is going to be testing her 1-rep maxes, and she may or may not be over 60. And I'm really hoping to get Shelly, see Shelly hit a 300-pound deadlift. That would be exciting for me. Big Lee. Big Steve, week has been shite. Work stress, baby mom stress, winter depression. Yet I've hit a +1 on nearly every lift, and the training has been great. What gives? Now, you are not thriving in sadness, Lee. We're going to have some real speak. Over the years, Lee, and I might say a few naughty words, so turn down the old Nobuchesky, if you will, or whatever. I've made videos called Fuck Your Feelings, okay? We're not talking about just feel like it. Part of it's feel. I don't feel like working out, or I feel sad today, or I feel winter depression. I'm not making fun of anybody, right? We're just having a little bit of humor. I feel tired. I feel sad. I don't feel like working out. Feel anything that deals with feelings. Fuck your feelings, okay? This is a video I've made over the years. We have a mission. The mission is to go into the gym, okay, and do the program. And to do the program with nutrition. How you feel is a lie. Your muscles don't have feelings. They aren't sitting around contemplating the nature of the universe and the emotional impact of decisions. Your muscles do not have feelings. Your connective tissue does not have feelings. Your results are a direct byproduct of sticking to the process, right? So whether you feel like crap, you got stress, you got lack of sleep, you got shite, you got winter depression, and your wife's cooking absolutely the worst possible anti-bodybuilder meals in the history of God's green earth. None of that matters, because your results are a victory. They are a victory. They are your reward for all the hard work and consistent work you put in. When do the +1s come? Do they come when we expect them to come? Hell no. That's all part of the process, my friends. That is all part of the process. We don't know when the tree is going to bear fruit. We don't know when the +1s are going to come. And many times they come when you're in Shitesville, right? When things are just down, you feel down on your luck, down on your mood, down on your sleep. I remember, and this is kind of the inspiration, when for the fuck your feelings video. There was a morning I had my younger daughter had colic, and she would just scream for like 16, 18 hours a day. I'm not even kidding. And I remember going into the gym one Saturday morning about 10 o'clock. I had the home gym, the dungeon gym, 4 hours of sleep. You ever had that fog where you don't know what the hell's going on? You have this lack of sleep, and your brain's just everything's kind of like, right? You know what I'm saying? I went to the gym and I had to do my squat workout that day, and I felt it would be crap. I had a feeling, and I was feeling tired, and I was feeling sleepy, and I was feeling foggy, and I was feeling dizzy, and I was feeling weird. And I had a lot of feelings on the pile of feelings, folks. A lot of feelings on the pile of feelings. We were feeling all the feelings, soaking in all the feelings, drowning in all of our feelings. We were doing all that stuff. I got onto the bar, and that day I hit my biggest squat ever with chains, 645 by 2. Easy peasy reps. Got it here on the channel. If you ever want to see it, I'd be happy to show you. I'd shared it with everybody. I never mentioned a lift on here that I don't have other than the pendlay row, because I don't have a pendlay row, a video of me doing 405 by 5. Everything else I have. But I went in with feeling all the feelings, right? All the feelings, every possible feeling. Lack of sleep, depression from my marriage, stress from the baby screaming. All the feelings were there, and the big pile of feelings, and they were sitting in the corner. And I just said, fuck your feelings. And I just did the thing. I focused on my form. And I found out that day, I just found out that day that feelings don't matter. We have to be safe, of course. During your warm-up sets, if anything feels off, we have to back down or whatever. We should be smart. But I found out that day that my muscles don't have feelings. And that if I follow the plan, the train's going to move forward, whether I feel like moving the train forward or not, because that is the reward and the fruit of our hard work. Also, thoughts on chest expanders for the broke, short-spaced home gym. I want to be polite. I mean, it's a fun old school thing. Is it a physical activity? Yes. Does any form of physical activity have value if you like it? Yes. Is it going to expand your chest? Is it going to expand your chest? You know what expands my chest? Big, beefy presses and pulls. Building that barrel with big, beefy presses and pulls. That's what expands my chest, right? Can it have value? Yeah, go ahead. It's not going to expand your chest. I wouldn't put it in as a primary chest builder, that's for sure. But it doesn't take a lot of time. So do it after the thing. If you're doing the expanding, it feels like a row to me. But if you stick your chest out, you can give the illusion that you're working your chest. I don't know. I don't have any experience with it, really. Big Mark. How's it going, Big Mark? Thanks for tuning in. And we're all caught up to about 11 o'clock. I'm going to continue with the questions, so keep them coming. I'll stay on as long as you guys have questions. I'm going to get a drink. We're about 40 minutes in. Boom. Just a reminder, real quick, I have Black Friday sales going on over at my website, superlivingtheday.com. Just check out the menu. You got the coaching chat tab with the coaching special, save $333 on yearlies. You check the service tab. We have phone consultations, custom workouts, assessments. We got some good stuff on the apparel tab, etc. So coaching is what I do for a living. I'd love to work with you. I coach unlike pretty much anybody else in the industry. And there's two things that differentiate how I coach. First off, I coach for a living. So, I'm not trying to make YouTube cash. I rely on coaching to run as my small business. Many coaches do the weekly check-in via email spreadsheet. You put the information in the spreadsheet, and And they send you a couple notes and you go on your happy, flappy, merry way. And I'm not making fun of it. I don't do that stuff. We ain't doing spreadsheets. If you want to do a spreadsheet, track your training, that's fine. I don't care how you track your training. But we are getting in the weeds together Monday through Friday. We're doing form checks. We're talking about things. We're talking about numbers. We're talking about nutrition. We can get a lot more done. I will tell you, folks, my way, many fitness professionals have told me no way I would ever do that. And you know what? I've been told so many times that my method of checking in daily is stupid, insane, whatever, by fitness professionals, and I do not care, because this is the way I coach, and I'm so thankful it led me down the path to be the coach of the year. It's enjoyable. This is the way I like to do things, and if you want to get in the weeds, let's do it. Not only that, but my coaching service is one of the least expensive in the industry for what you get. It's only $89.40 after the first month, and if you do the yearly special, it's $799 a year. Everybody else is out there charging $200, $300, $400, whatever, $100 a month. And hey, you go right ahead and charge what you feel is worth. Why can I charge less? It's not that I devalue what I do. I want to work with as many people as possible. There's this belief out there by a lot of fitness professionals that if you charge less, this is what they tell you. You're going to attract riffraff, right? You're going to attract a lot of people that aren't serious. I don't find that to be the case because I have an established YouTube presence. People that come to me generally want to work with me, right? So I don't find that to be the case. And I can charge less because I coach full-time. Not a lot of people coach full-time. So I can, sit here for 10, 12, 14 hours and get my work done. And, I have no problems doing it. I have no problems getting it done. So anyway, I don't mind charging less to allow more people to get into the door. And it's always been a blessing for me. And it's always put enough food on my table, and I'm not changing it no matter who doesn't like it. All right, where are we at? Big Michael. Hey, Steve and everyone, statement about intensity and or volume. If you can recover from it, it wasn't too much. What's your opinion? We're not worrying about that, okay? Is it too much? Was it too much? Theoreticals, right? Hypotheticals. Let's say I did 3 sets of bench and I can recover from it. Was it too much? Well, you should be able to recover from it, because if not, you're probably dead or crippled. But I'm just saying that as humor. But we want to train hard and we want to adjust our volume based on how we are recovering. We have to be pragmatic. How many days a week do I have to train each week? What exercises can I get in that day that are balanced and make sense for my goals? And am I recovering? If not, I need to make micro adjustments. So, Michael, all of this is just theoretical, hypothetical, right? It's mind games, and I'm not trying to push your question aside, but I like to live in a more practical, pragmatic way of approaching programming. You say to me, hey man, my back workout's going good. I would like to add another exercise or another set of T-bar rows because the time in gym's going okay. And I think I can handle a little bit more brutality, one more set, one more exercise. What do you think? Yes. We make adjustments on the battlefield like that. Rather than hypothetical, creating formulas, because a lot of people will create formulas like, adjust this, adjust that. This is the perfect amount. Perfect is in the adjustment. Does that make sense? Now you have a triangle, volume, intensity, and frequency. And in general, intensity in this sense is weight relative to your 1 rep max. So we have volume, intensity, and frequency, 3 points of the triangle. When you raise your frequency of a muscle group or a lift, you generally have to decrease your daily intensity or volume. generally. Sometimes you can make micro bumps, okay? Micro bumps are okay because that's all part of finding the balancing point. It's like having 3 points of a triangle balancing on a little stick, right? So if you put too much volume, it might tip over. So we have to kind of adjust things a little bit to keep that thing afloat. Volume, intensity, and frequency. Does that make sense? Big Martin from Martinsville, UK. Client of mine just made it in time. Happy weekend. Thank you, Martin. Martin did an amazing thing for me this week. Last year when I won the Best Coach of the Year from Trainerize, they sent me a delightful gift package, right? They sent me this backpack, the specialty backpack, and it had a gold zipper and gold things, and it was part of my award as being Best Coach of the Year. I cherish that thing because I don't set out to win awards, but that, being Coach of the Year, being out 400,000 people, I can't even process that. And I don't value material possessions, but that I valued. And I kept it in my car with my VersaGrips and my knee wraps and my Beats headphones. One night, I put it in my car one night. I went to the gym. I actually went to Planet Fitness locally because I want to bash around some machines and do some treadmill work on a rainy day. And that was on a Thursday. I left it in my car one night with that stuff in my driveway. That Friday night was prom in the city. 5 teenagers got rip-roaring drunk and at 1 a.m. started breaking in cars in our neighborhood, and they stole it, and they took it off to the woods somewhere and tossed it. I spent hours and hours, me and my wife did, trying to find that backpack. To get myself, we never found it. I did get a thank you note from the kids, right? They were forced to write it, so I don't really value it. But Martin contacted Trainerize and told them my situation, that the backpack had been stolen. They sent me a new one this week, and I'm extremely, extremely thankful. That was such an incredible act of thoughtfulness and kindness. The world needs more people like Martin. Big Paladin from Team Massive has suggested trying incline pullovers. Yeah, just start with a slight incline. You can also do I'm not saying you could do it, Martin, but people that are listening could try a slight cable incline pullover if you have a cable station. That's a good way to do them as well. So getting the weight into position can sometimes be tricky, but they are certainly worth a try. Big Ian K. Will you get less gains with 2 sets maximum? No, don't play these games, Ian. Detox yourself, detach yourself. Look at the bigger picture. How many days a week do I have to train? Okay, now I'm going to try to balance my workouts between major areas, chest, back, shoulders, and quads, and then more minor areas, biceps, triceps, hamstrings. There's no magical sets. There's no magical rep range. There's only the bigger picture. And in the long run, none of this stuff matters. You're going to have seasons where you do 2 sets, seasons where you do 3. The belief that somehow one of these variables in the short run makes any difference at all in the long run is completely driven by all this fear generated by nasty content producers. Detox from this. Magic is hard training, progressive overload, nailing your bulks and cuts over a long period of time and making your training sustainable and doing what you can in that season of life. We don't care. Some exercises I do 2 sets, some I do 3, some I only maximize the last set, some I maximize 2. Every exercise is different. But in the long run, none of this stuff matters, and that's the freedom I'm trying to preach to you guys. Would be amazing to see you pick up second Trainer of the Year award. No one deserves it more. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I also have imposter syndrome professionally, so I get it. Imposter syndrome, you could say you have imposter syndrome, and some people will be like, chuckle. But I think it's a normal thing from what I've seen from anybody, from a lot of successful people, because they know what they don't know, right? And they're always trying to, we're generalizing here, but they want to refine their weak spots and their empty spots and their blind spots. On the other hand, you have the Dunning-Kruger syndrome, which is people that are too dumb to realize they don't know everything. So they think they're an expert and they talk about stuff in public, and everybody who's around them is like, he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about because he's missing this blind spot and that blind spot. So you have the Dunning-Kruger, which you see a lot on social media. And I say dumb people and as respectfully as you can, right? I mean, if you're out there acting like an expert on something and you don't have a clue what you're talking about, you have a right to your opinion, obviously. And I don't deny that, but that doesn't mean your opinion's correct or educated. But the Dunning-Kruger effect is basically someone that thinks they're an expert, but really when the real experts are in the room, they know this person doesn't have a clue what they're talking about. Somebody can make up some opinion about launching rockets through space or breaking the sound, the light speed with time travel or whatever. They can have an opinion, but Dunning-Kruger doesn't know what they don't know, right? And that's generally a sign of low intelligence, whatever you want to say, whatever it happens to be. You guys figure it out. But I don't know. It's just like being a parent. People that feel like they're not a good parent are probably really taking parenting seriously, to the point where they want to improve. They're always looking to be better. Anybody with imposter syndrome is probably pretty much in that same group. They want to be better. They want to be the best for the people that they're helping. Thoughts on Jay Masters' 505 double bench after drinking 8 tall boys of Steel Reserve the night before? What I just talked about feelings earlier, number one, Steel Reserve, is that sounds like water beer. So no offense, Jay. What is the alcohol value in Steel Reserve? What even is that stuff? Steel Reserve. Maybe I'm wrong. No, it's 8.1. All right, so that's decent. I just never looked at it. So respect. I don't really drink anything under 7. It's not that I'm a snooty patootie or anything, but I don't like to drink water. I'd rather drink 2 or 3 that have some alcohol value and enjoy it and go slow. Anyway, this goes back to the F your feelings thing. He's trained hard, and it's his muscles, don't care how many beers he had. His head might, but I have had, when we were running a lot during the pandemic, like 12, 14 hours a week, I remember sometimes I would have 4 or 5 IPAs of over 8% on a Friday night watching the movie with my wife and then go out and run for 6 hours. So it doesn't surprise me. I would always have a decent hydration plan, drinking water, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't surprise me. It's just the fruit of his hard work. Zero option. Afternoon, Steve. Hope, yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for answering my question last week. Thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. Let me get a drink. We got some Diet Mountain Dew. Can you talk a bit about evolving your training, specifically when and how do you know to modify your program? Number one, don't overthink it. Evolving your training is one of the 10 pillars of success in my massive iron system. And for those of you not familiar with it, if you start out today, like you're Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman or name any lifter, you start out as a noob, right? A little seedlet. And then you compare that person to 10 years later. Now they're Mr. Olympia, or champion of the world, champion strongman, champion bodybuilder, champion powerlifter. They went from seedlet to champion, right? Over that journey, starting as a seedlet, they might have used some basic program, some common sense program that I would have put out, or anybody reasonable would put out. They would have a starting point. And then over time, they would evolve their training, and they come to a point at the end of the road where you look at their training system and it doesn't make a lot of sense to you. Most of it does. We know the exercises, but they might be doing supersets here and rest pause there and dingle wingles and twerky workies and all kinds of stuff. You're like, what are they doing? They evolve their program based on needs over years and years. Okay, so I write down a program and I have deadlifts and dumbbell rows and lat pull downs and machine rows. So I get into the gym, I'm a noob, and I realize lat pull downs, they're all right. I'm going to try V-bar today, the little V handle, right? I'm going to try the little V-bar today because it's reasonable. And I find, hey, on the V-bar, I can really pack my lats and feel my lats. I'm going to move from a wide handle lat pull down to a V-bar, evolving your training based on needs. Reasonable swaps. So 4 weeks later, you think, I want to get in a little bit of variety, and I am El Succo at pull-ups. So I'm going to try some wide grip lat pull downs again. But now what I'm going to do is alternate every other week between V handle and wide grip lat pull downs. And I find, hey, I like that variety. It's mentally stimulating. I'm not doing the same thing every week. And these are reasonable swaps. So you're doing you're a couple months in. You're doing 10 rep sets on V handles, 10 rep sets on lat pull downs, and you start to push the last sets for max reps. And you find on V handles that you like to do rest pause work. You knock out those 10 reps and then you rest 15 to 20 seconds and you like doing that on the last set. Just on the last set, you decide you like doing rest pause on the last set. We're evolving things. Is it reasonable? Does it service hard training? Yes, absolutely. The end goal is hard training and progressive overload and consistency and sustainability. Those are reasonable evolution steps. Pendley rows. Hey, I started doing 10 reps, not me, but you. I started doing 10 rep sets on Pendley rows, and I feel winded from a cardiovascular standpoint. But when I do 4 sets of 6 rather than 3 sets of 10, I can really get more out of it. And I really feel the muscles working more and less of a cardiovascular stress. The question is this a reasonable swap? It is absolutely a reasonable swap. What is not a reasonable swap? You go into the gym and you spend a good 4 months trying to get squat form down, and your limb lengths and leverages just suck. Right? They just suck. And you cannot get a good feel for squat, and you hire the big, hairy, ugly dude as a coach, and we're dialing things in, and you just can't keep your knees open, and things feel weird, and your lower back's feeling jacked up. So you decide, I'm not going to do squats anymore. So you decide, I'm going to do leg extensions rather than squats. So you log on to my coaching app, and you say, hey, big, hairy, ugly dude, I don't like squats, 4 months, all the problems, you list all the problems. I say, I understand. No magic exercises. We will find a good replacement. So you say, I want to do wiggy extensions instead of squats. And I say, no. I say, no. You say, but they're a fine exercise. And I say, they are a fine exercise, and I do them every week. But they are not an equivalent lift. When we pull something out, We have to plug something in back into that engine with kind of an equivalent power or impact level. You can't pull out squats and pull out the big hitters, leg presses, and pull out hack squats or pendulum squats or leverage squats or heavy ass lunges and just put in all foo-foo stuff like goblet squats and leg extensions and so on and so forth, because, and like even body weight lunges, body weight lunges are tough, but if we're backing everything down, then we're going to create a much easier program that's not going to service hard training and our goals. So we have to be realistic when we are making swaps. Is this a reasonable swap? Swapping, making slight changes in a rep range, reasonable. I don't want to bench. I'm just going to do pec deck as my 12 sets of chest a week. Reasonable? No. For my shoulders, all I'm going to do is side lateral raises. Is that reasonable? No. So I hope that helps a little bit. Ian, we do not use the word plateau. Ian, go to the corner of shame. There are no real plateaus. There's just naturally slowing of progress. Or C, sort of a slowing progress. There you go. Now you're on board. Do you keep pushing for that? You never change the way you program. You never change the way you attack your programming. There is no real plateaus. Plateaus, there are real plateaus, but they're going to happen like light years in the future when you have just stuck at 450 on squats for 10 years. Or you're stuck at 350 on bench for like 3 years. And at that point, adding 10 to 15 pounds a year is a major accomplishment. That is not a plateau. That's just kind of, you're at the red line, 95% of your limit, and stuff is going to get really hard, and you're going to need to put in a lot more time and just hope and pray that you stay healthy just to get another 10 to 15 pounds on your bench press. The deeper in you get, the slower progress goes. That's not a plateau. That's a natural slowing of progress. And there's no magic way to change that. It's physiological reality. It's the reality of training. The faster you accrue strength, the faster you accrue muscle, the slower it's going to come. You could say I'm being negative, but that's the reality, folks. You can't continue to get bigger and bigger and stronger equally every year. The closer you fly to the sun, the more you're going to get burned, the harder it becomes. So you don't train differently. Now, you can certainly go into phases, new phases of training every 3, 4, 5 months where you try different approaches. Let's say I've been doing threes on the bench press. The next phase of training, I'm going to try bulldozer, rest pause training. The next phase of training, I'm going to do only Larson's and floor press. The next phase of training, I'm going to rely on chains and 3-rep sets. If we're after end limit strength, then you can do phases like that, but you have to make sure the phases are at least 3, 4, 5 months. You have to give them due diligence, right? Even then, you could take a 315-pound bencher. Let's say he got up there in only 2 years. Good genetics, everything's fallen into place. It could take him 15 years to go from 315 to 335. It could. It could take him 1 year. It could take him 20 years. You don't know. But even if it took him 1 year to get up to 335, he can't expect to gain 20 pounds on his bench every year. Some people will do it. The outliers can do it. The Eric Lillibridges can do it. The Pete Rubishes can do it. The top-level power lifters are top level for a reason, because they're able to do that. But most of us aren't. That's not a negative. You get to a 315-pound squat or a 500-pound deadlift, and you say, oh, I'm feeling on top of the world. Now I'm going to get to a 700-pound deadlift. How about we get to 510 first, right? It could take you 5 years to get to 525 on deadlifts. You don't know. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be realistic. What I'm trying to stress to you is that's not a plateau. That's when all hell breaks loose in training. When you get to that 95%, there are no guarantees at that point. And I wouldn't call it a plateau. I would call it the end result of your hard training. It's just a physiological soft wall that is hard to push through. And you're going to need to try everything you can. And even then, you're going to need to understand there's a good chance it might not make much of a difference. Joshua, why is it that most of the science-based social media people have never actually trained people? Now, I will say this. I don't want to make a sweeping generalization because I don't know. There's a lot of them out there, right? And some of them do train people, some of them don't. I don't know. Everyone's different, right? We can establish that. What I will say in answer to your question is that the more you train people, the more you realize there's no magical rep ranges, there's no magical sets, there's no magical programs. The more you train people, the more you see it's about, are they planning? Are they consistent? Are we evolving things based on their links and leverages and preferences? Because how they feel about their program is very important. You can have 20 different people in the room at your gym doing 20 different variations of programs that have the same exercises, but different rep ranges, different frequencies, different everything. If they are all equally motivated and they are all equally planned and nailing their bulks and nailing their hard training, they're all going to have equal results. So when you train in the real world, you understand that the real magic isn't just making content on social media, right? It's tested in the real world. Somebody that comes on and says, seated or standing cable tricep extensions, we've all been doing it wrong for 70 years, and here's the new variation, right? And they get on and like my question is, did you just try this for 10 years with people? I try new things with my clients. I come up with new things. I have my clients, I have the right people try them. I came up with the massive curls protocol this year where we do 8 strict reps of curls and then we try to do 4 cheat reps. And on the last set, we try to do maximum strict reps. That was a new protocol. I came up with it. Wasn't science-based. I came up with it because it's something I thought could increase the hard training factor while still focusing on strict reps and progressive overload. So I gave that to a few of my clients because it's reasonable. It's not anything crazy. And if they find it engaging and they like doing it, I start to give it to more and more. And we test the waters, and some people don't like it and we pull back. Training is highly individual. That's not a cop-out. That's the reality. You know, nothing's a broad stroke. These influencers that get on and say, bench isn't good for chest or lunges isn't the best for quads. You know, they're doing these broad strokes, generalizations, when the reality is, if there's 20 of you, maybe 10 of you like dumbbell bench as your primary chest press, and maybe 10 of you find more value in the barbell bench. Maybe because your limb links and leverages and injury history and available equipment, and maybe the gym's just damn packed and you can't get to the bench. In the real world, evolving things based on reasonable swaps and reasonable changes, that's how we do it. And a coach will understand that. I will say there's a difference between a coach and a social media influencer. I have nothing but respect for anybody that's involved in physical improvement, taking care of the body with exercise and nutrition. With that said, there's a difference between I like doing my standing cable tricep extensions like this. Okay, great. You like doing it, you can feel it. If I do things a certain way on an exercise, I'm not going to be a disingenuous twat cake and go on social media and say, this is the only way to do it. I'll say, this is the way I do it. This is what I say with my clients. I do it like this. Let's see. As long as it's reasonable, we will see if it works for you. And after you coach thousands of people like I have, and that's not an exaggeration, you understand, you can see a bigger picture. I will tell you this because this is something I have discussed with coaches with a lot of experience. They can see influencers and fitness personalities and YouTubers that don't coach real people in the real world because they have huge blind spots they don't understand. They'll get on and say, there's only one way to squat, or this is the only way to do this, or lunges suck and you should stop doing them. They'll demonize one specific exercise, or they'll have huge holes in their knowledge base that they can't possibly comprehend are there because they don't coach in the real world. So there's a broad spectrum of people in fitness, and we're not going to generalize. But I will tell you, those that don't coach real people in the real world have a lot of holes in their knowledge that they don't know are there. And there is a difference. You need to be equipped with this, and you need to be aware so you can discern. There can be a wide gap between a coach and someone that is a content creator. Now, not only that, exercise form is hyper important. You can have a group of 10 coaches and a group of 10 influencers give 10 different people programs. Maybe the influencer understands squat form better than the coach. I've met a lot of coaches, and I've seen a lot of personal trainers that don't understand form on an exercise. That's not a criticism. What I'm saying is there's another layer to that onion, and that is understanding exercise form. If you go into the gym and you aren't maximizing your lat pull downs, your seated cable rows, your barbell rows, your dumbbell rows, everything, you're not going to get as much out of it as you think you're getting out of it to varying degrees. If your lat pull downs look like some kind of a torso seizure that's working your lower back, right? Like some kind of a monkey. Yes, you're moving weight through space and accruing reps, but it has no focus. You know, a good coach, or maybe there are plenty of influencers that'd be able to understand that. So it really comes down to the individual. Does that make sense? Ian, if you know how to maximize every set, do you think you better track your lifts? You better track your lifts. There's no downside to tracking your lifts. You need to know exactly what you did last time. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it, right? There's no, because it takes you 2 seconds. I'm not being confrontational, Ian, but there's no intelligent reason not to track your lifts. How do you gauge progression for light and moderate lifts on your HML days? Everything has a progression indicator. Everything's going to turn into heavier. But heavy is relative. So let me give you a dumbed down example. We have bench. Let's say we do 3x5 on our heavy day. Our light day, we do pecky decky. We do 3x12. And our moderate day or medium day, we do dumbbell bench, 3x8 to 10. So we have the heavier day, which is lower reps, higher intensity. Okay. We're doing 3x5, so we're doing lower reps, higher intensity. That's our heavy day. Our light day is pecky decky, where we're doing 12s. And our moderate is still a compound movement, but we're doing a little bit less intense with our dumbbell bench. Every one of those has a progression indicator. Every one is going to get a lot stronger over the next 5 years. They're all going to be heavy because it's all relative. We aren't just going in and doing, okay, I did 3 sets of 5 on bench on Monday. Now I'm going to go super light on the pec deck and not challenge myself. That's not light. Excuse my language, turn down the knob. That's fucking off, right? That's non-productive junk volume. Light is still pushing yourself to the limit. Moderate is still pushing yourself to the limit. All of these are pushed to the limit. They're just different in a relative sense. In your opinion, there's no better split. Ian, there's no better split. There's no better split. There's no magic splits. There's no magic reps. There's no magic rep ranges. There's no magic exercises. There's no magic splits. That's it. That's the answer, Ian. There's none. Unplug from that, Ian. Unplug. That's not the magic, my friend. That's not the magic. What split doesn't matter, does not matter. What matters is how many days a week do you have to train? Let's put together a balanced program. Let's put in an exercise selection for each muscle group that makes sense, that's reasonable, and let's train hard. Doesn't matter how you slice and dice it. It's all about weekly volume. You do the split that you like in this phase, and then the next phase of training, maybe you want to do a different split. No magic splits. Watch my video called Fuck Your Program. Fuck your program. Absolutely fuck your program. There's no fucking magic programs. And I mean that with respect because I love you guys. These are non-questions. Better, toss that word out. Optimal, toss that word out. Reasonable, yep. How do you deal with wrist pain? Number one, I would get wrist wraps, okay? Just a little bit of support. Think of this as like a little bit wobbly, a little bit unsupportive. A little bit of support makes it harder to do this in a dumbed down sense. I find at a certain point, wrist wraps are a valuable thing to keep in your toolbox, so to speak. All right, let me get a drink. Belt squats. Yeah, I do. I have a lot of clients that do belt squats. And when I say a lot, maybe 10 to 15%. And like any exercise, is it a reasonable choice? Yep. I would consider it a secondary movement, and that's not a slam at all. It could be your lead. Anything could be your lead exercise as long as you're able to really progressively overload an attack. It's a good choice if it feels good for you. Now, there are some belt squat stations where you have to like strap up at the bottom, get really low to belt in and then push from the bottom. I hate those, right? I don't like it. But yeah, if it feels good for you, it's definitely a good lift. Simonson, a bit off topic, but did you see Mitchell Hooper's video about strength training after Ohio lost to Michigan? No, I did not see it, and I will check it out. If anybody has the Cliff's notes, I'd be happy to take a look. I have been wanting to get into strength training with some athletes. I try to do Special Olympics here again in my county, and to be quite honest, the local folks were just a hot mess of dysfunction, which was sad because I really wanted to run a Special Olympics team here. I mean, I had a scheduled appointment with a local lady in the county to talk on the phone, and she never called, never texted, just ghosted me. And then like a week later, she's like, "You still want to talk?" And I'm like, we were supposed to talk last Friday. And then we set up another time. I get on the phone with her. She calls. I'm trying to be respectful here, but she's some big horse chewing, gum chewing, food chewing. I get on the phone, all I hear is like, what in the heck? And like, hey, that's my background. I coach Special Olympics. You went to state. Like the okay. Then we set up a time. I set up a time with a local high school. I donated $20,000 of equipment to this high school. And I had kind of a deal with this local high school that they were going to allow me to train the Special Olympians there. And I set up a time. We're going to do a meet and greet. And this lady gave it the okay. I did all the testing online with the state of Ohio to get approved, to be able to coach, and everything was good. She messages me like 2 hours or 3 hours before everybody was supposed to come to the meetup and says, "Oh, we forgot. No, oh, I forgot. It's movie night for Special Olympics. So it's movie night for Special Olympians. So they all go watch the movie at the location, and none of them want to come out to see about a new sport called powerlifting." So she completely ruined that. And I had set everything up with a high school football coach. I wasted his time. She wasted my time. And then I called the state and said, "Hey, this person's a knucklehead." And they never called me back. And I called them again. They never called me back. Really, really sad. But anyway, that's my story. That's story time of why I'm not coaching Special Olympics. I want to get into coaching some athletes locally. So I think around here they don't know me. I mean, they don't know who I am. But I would like to eventually get involved with that, because when I first got into coaching Special Olympics, there was a strength coach with a professional team, okay, who I was coaching with. And the way they were coaching strength, not the way I would do it. Let's put it that way. Ian, how do you implement cardio conditioning work? You do whatever you want, whenever you want, for as long as you want. There's no rules. Cardio conditioning is personal. You pick the form you like. I like swimming. I like running. I like walking up hills to get my heart rate up. I like jumping rope. I like doing circuit training with kettlebells. You do whatever you want. There's no magic. There's nothing. You just do what you want to do, my friend, and enjoy it and find some value and try to improve if that's your goal. A lot of studies are saying that as you age, grip strength and muscle mass. Is it better to train more like a bodybuilder or gains more mass? You don't train like a power lifter unless you're trying to be a power lifter, okay? They're the same process base building wise. A power lifter doesn't just build a base on low rep work, okay? Does that make sense? So the strongest power lifters are almost always the biggest power lifters. That's science. Okay? That's the reality. That's the scientific reality. Mass facilitates strength. And the more mass you have, the better base you have for strength. So as you age, you train how you want to train. I'm not being disrespectful. But the disconnect here is that there's somehow a difference in, like, I'm only going to do low rep sets in powerlifting. That's not the disconnect here. Is how powerlifters actually train. Highly individual, but they have to have a muscle base. So we're all going to lose something as we age. The key thing is that we want to evolve our training based on what's happening currently at that age. Mass is not disconnected from strength. Strength progressive overload drives mass. So they're not two different parts. They're not two different things. And I think that's where the disconnect is. If you're losing mass as you age, you might be like, well, who cares about mass? I want strength. It's more important as I age. Well, strength is going to keep mass on it. Muscle tissue and muscular strength is important. Muscle size, just pure aesthetics, hey, maybe you don't want that, but if you want to be strong, there's a difference between being 70 and just doing 3 sets of 10 with 135 on the bench and being 70 and wanting to be super strong. Does that make sense? So if you took the average grandpa out there and he was able to bench press 135 for 3 sets of 10 at age 70, he would be a lot stronger than he is right now. The average. There's a difference between that and the 70-year-old grandpa who wants to do 225 for 3 sets of 10, which would be exceptional. So there's a lot of nuance here, but you have to evolve training based on how you are feeling with age, and you're not going to train like a power lifter, how we envision a power lifter training, which isn't actually how power lifters train. Does that make sense? What are your thoughts on cable shoulder press and row machines? I have nothing against them. I would call them a third tier exercise. Don't take that the wrong way. Third tier is not bad. Third tier has its place. First tier, dumbbell and barbell overhead press for your delts. The second tier might be a machine overhead press or an Arnold press or a heavy high pull. Third tier might be a cable shoulder press or a bulldozer lateral, a cheated lateral, and fourth tier might be like a side lateral. They all have their place. I do all tiers, all 4 tiers, what I would call 4 tiers. Row machines are kind of third tier. Some of them are really, really good. Some of them could even be second tier. It depends on the setup. Nothing wrong with them. Everything can have a place in programming as long as it's structured properly. Does that make sense? Ice cold. Morning, big, hairy, ugly dude, team massive. For this month, I've decided to do a 4-week true strength program. And this first week is done. So I'd like to see what you're doing, because you can't really do anything in 4 weeks. So I'm curious what you're doing. When you get into a new program, the first couple of weeks are going to be kind of an adaptation phase. So where your body is acclimating to the demands of the program and you're trying to zero in on the weight to be used. Now, you could have a program that is percentage based. You could know exactly where your bench is and your squat is, and you got some percentage based program and you're running dead nuts on that program. You could be doing that. So there's a lot of things that could be going on here, but I would really like to see the program you're doing, because programs really need to be longer than 4 weeks. Generally, a phase of training probably needs to be at least 12 weeks, if that makes sense. Troy. Hey, boss, I like overheads using a neutral grip as well as pronated. Is there much of a difference between the two grips? Not really. What we really look at, when you have a neutral grip, your shoulders are at ease. They're a little bit relaxed. When you rotate out, okay, you get internal shoulder rotation. You get a little bit of internal shoulder rotation. Is that dangerous? No. What we do is we lean back a little bit, because if you're doing a standing overhead press, if you don't lean back, your wrists are forward of your elbows and you can't sustain it. So you're going to have to lean back a little bit also, so you're not plunking the bar in that big fat watermelon head. So on a standing overhead press, you're going to have to lean back a little bit so you can keep your wrists over your elbows. That's going to negate that internal shoulder rotation pretty much to the point where it's a non-issue. Seated, the same thing. You're going to have to lean the seat back. So when we go from a neutral grip to a pronated grip, you're going to get a little bit of that weird internal shoulder rotation feeling, but then we lean back and everything's good. It pretty much settles in. We get really good leverages and no issues at all. So it's basically all personal preference, if that makes sense. Would running 4 times a week in the morning with push-ups or burpees at certain points along the way affect? No. You'll adapt to it. I used to, in fact, I'm going to return to this program in the new year, January 6th. We're going to be, anybody who wants to join me can do the 10-100 program with me, which has calisthenics, body weight work, regular training, and running. I did it all, and your body adjusts. There's no doubt. As long as you're training hard with weights, you're going to be absolutely fine. Big Jason, you made off the cuff remark 2 months ago about setting foot position for the squats. I put 15 extra kilos on the bar over 8 weeks for reps. That's wonderful. I'm really, really glad to hear that. And Jason went on to say, the remark was stand as if you're getting pushed, was getting pushed over. So what I teach on squats, I have, if you can't find this video, I have 2 videos. Basically, I call it the pick up the quarter drill. You stand like you're standing in a position like someone's going to run at you. Okay. And you just naturally brace yourself. Don't think, just brace yourself. Knees slightly bent. Somebody's running at me full speed. That's a starting point for your foot position. That's a natural starting point for your foot position, right? You don't get in there. You don't put your legs together when someone's running at you. You know your feet aren't like this. You're going to get bowled over. You don't put your feet super wide, right? You know, you could, but you're going to be clunky. So you want to brace yourself like you're playing football, like someone's running after you, and let those feet just go in their natural position. They're going to naturally kind of go out a little bit, and that's a good starting point. You can make adjustments from here, but that's a good starting point. What if I feel tired? I don't care if you feel tired. The only time anything is a valid excuse is if you get into the gym and it's going to make your workout dangerous, or you get under the bar and things feel off, then you back down. The prime directive is to continue to fight, right? We don't want to do anything that's going to compromise our ability to continue lifting. An excuse inherently is invalid because it's a cop-out. There are valid reasons not to train. There are valid reasons to adjust. If you get in the gym and things feel off, I tell my clients, knock sets down, adjust sets, drop them down to 2, deload, whatever. We have to be smart. But we can't blanketly say, oh, I got 4 hours of sleep last night. Hey, if I get 4 hours of sleep, I'm not going to want to train either. And I'm not saying you need to go train. There's nothing wrong with taking a rest day. But it's really a case-by-case basis. When we start making rules, I've had a lot of clients that trained on 4 hours of sleep over the years. So I'm not telling you to do stupid stuff. Just be smart and take things day by day, moment by moment. Is it okay to drink liquid protein calories every day? Yep. Like a 200-gram peanut butter. I think you mean like grams as in total weight of the shake. That's fine. You need to be eating some animal-based proteins, animal-based foods, eggs, meat, because those are really rich in nutrients. Okay. But does that have to be everything you take in? No. You should probably limit the periphery to maybe 25%, maybe 30% if you're really on a bulk. But make sure you're getting in some meat and eggs, seafood each day if you can. Do you have the heat on in your home gym when you are using it? My basement is my gym, and I have a little space heater right now for when it gets down to about 20 degrees. It helps me stay a little bit warmer. Absolutely. No question, just a comment. Your journey is very inspiring to me. Thank you, sir. I'm also a veteran, was 300 pounds last year. A year into strength training, I'm feeling better. That's wonderful. I'd love to hear more of your story, seriously, and I'm proud of what you've accomplished. Nice work. Any of you guys can come over and join my community, my Discord community. You can find a link in the description box of any video this week. But outside of that, I'm always interested in hearing people's stories because this is what it's all about. Good job. Would it be accurate to say that long-term cuts should only be for obese people trying to get healthy? Well, I'm going to come back at you with if you don't have a lot of fat to lose, you can't do a long-term cut, right? So do you want to go slow? I mean, would you want to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week on a cut? Well, you could do that if you had a lot of muscle mass and you just want to do a micro deficit and just cruise for 10 months and lose 20 pounds a year. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's going to impede your ability to add mass. If you have all the mass you want, it's perfectly fine. How much does a large pizza cost where you're at? I don't know. I get small. I'll show you what I get if you want to look. I've been doing Papa John's lately. I'll pull up Marco's because Marco's is really salty. But it's still my personal favorite locally. I'm just going to mute the tab so we don't get anything. Let's take a look, shall we? Share screen. Let's talk about pizza here on Friday. So Marco's is the one that me and my wife like. I do small because, look, sometimes I like to get 6 wingies to go with it. But part of my reprogramming when it comes to eating is not, I used to just get the largest thing on the menu, right? Okay, menu. Build your own. Start building. Oop. Let's see what we got. This will only take a second. Yep, thank you. Okay, thank you. Continue as guest. We'll just do takeout. Yes, proceed with order. Boy, they're making this difficult. Can we just order? Let's just do a build your own because I'll show you what I do. All right. Pizza. We don't want hot deals. Build your own. That's what I do. So I'll do the small and I do thin damage reduction. I don't do anything extra with cheese, pizza sauce. I do pepperoni, old world pepperoni. Meatballs are too big on that sucker. Bacon and Italian sausage. Sometimes I'll toss off the bacon, put steak. So I get 4 meats, and I get jalapenos and red onions, and I don't do anything else. That's $19.99 for a small with 6 toppings, which I don't really find $20 to be extravagant. Now, if you are budget and you drop that and you just say do one topping, it's going to be 10. That's for a small. If you want to go Fatty McDaddy and do extra large, oh, okay. You can't do it thin. You got to do thick crust. All right. We'll roll with it. What can you do on original crust? All right, we're just sitting here dreaming. That'll be $17 for a large original crust with just pepperoni. So base pepperoni pizza, 10 to 17, and then as you add toppings, it's about $1.50 per topping. Leave. All right, there we go. Ian, which is the most important volume? There's nothing that's more important, Ian. You're trying to create formulas again. Ian, I love you. You need to stop trying to create formulas. You need to stop trying to look for magic rep ranges. You need to stop trying to look for magic programs. You need to stop trying to look for magic frequencies. Most important, Ian, I love you. I'm telling you this because we need to detox you from this world. We're having an Ian intervention. Most important is hard training, progressive overload over time. All these variables, volumes adjusted. Volume is not most important for lifting. If it was, everyone would have to be in the gym 6 days a week hammering out with volume. What's most important is progressive overload and a reasonable volume over time. Intensity, there are 2 forms of intensity, weight relative to your 1 rep max or doing intensity techniques. Neither of those is important. All that's important is progressive overload. And we've been over this a million times. Frequency doesn't matter in the long run as long as you're training hard. Ice cold Tristan. Does getting tired, exhausted halfway through a work mean that I lack work capacity? No. It generally means you're on the right track. Usually you should get about 50 to 60% of the way done with your workout and feel like you're worked. And then that's why we go down to like tier 3, tier 4, tier 3, tier 4 exercises, right? Does that make sense? That's why we kind of have a step down. Now, you could be lacking a little bit of work capacity. You could be. But that's okay. We'll build it. You just have to continue to attack. The one thing we don't do is become boo-boo babies. I'm halfway through my workout. I feel tired. Anytime that word feel comes in, we have to push back. We have to push back. I feel. Oh, you want a banky wanky? You want a juice box and some goldfish quackers? I'm not saying that to Ice Cold Tristan, but that's how we have to talk back to ourselves, right? We have to push. When something gets hard, we have to push back a little bit. That's where growth occurs. So, yeah, you could be lacking a little bit of work capacity. Is that a negative thing? No. But we have to push back a little bit. We don't have to be a monster, but we can push back a little bit, and that's how the growth occurs over time. Does that make sense? Jason, thanks. We said so many crazy things today. I'm not sure where we're at. David, hey, Steve, what would you say are the most important factors that make something a good exercise for hypertrophy? Don't overthink this stuff, David. We need a reasonable selection of exercises that treat your body good, that are classic, that have decent progression opportunities. Dumbbell exercises, barbell exercises, machine exercises, cables, whatever. Don't get into the world where we're trying to figure out stability and stretch, and that's all influencer science-based horse shit, right? None of that's needed. None of that's required. What is needed is a good selection of exercises that treat the body good, that are sustainable, that allow you to progressively overload. Does that make sense? If you want to have one stretch exercise like seated incline dumbbell curls where you get a little bit of stretch at the bottom, no problem. I do barrel press where I get a little bit of stretch. But I don't chase stretch because we start to chase rabbit trails. We start to go down magic rabbit trails, like the stretch is everything or stability is everything. That's nonsense. And influencers that are teaching this are the worst of the worst because it completely lacks the big picture. With that in mind, what do you think of the hype nowadays around exercise that folks? It is hype. That's all it is. I like feeling like at the bottom of a barrel press, some exercises you have to feel, right? But not every exercise is the same. The barrel press, I pull down until I feel a slight chest stretch, and then I press back up. I don't have to turn every press into that. It's not needed, right? The history of lifting can tell us that. Lifters for endless decades were not doing the stretch. Look at my Marvin Eater video this week. Marvin wasn't doing the stretchy poo, wetchy poo. I'm not making fun of it, but he didn't have to turn every exercise into a stretch. Marvin Eater was bench pressing 500 pounds under a body weight of 200 naturally. He wasn't doing stretchy poo, wetchy poo. He could do, I think he did 1,000 dips in 17 minutes. He wasn't going down until he get the stretch and then dipping back up like a fancy ballerina. And I'm not making fun of stretch exercises, but what I am saying is we can become so infatuated with the magic bullshit of the day that we believe we have to apply it to everything, and we don't. I like, when I'm doing a seated incline curl, to feel a little bit of mild stretch. That way I know I'm at the bottom, and then I initiate the next rep. But it's not magical, my friend. It's not magical. It seems to me that there are a lot of people who focus on the stretch. I'm going to say this, and I mean this respectfully. There are a lot of influencers that don't. There are a lot of coaches that don't. There's a whole world out there. I just want to encourage you guys to expand your horizons and have a good base. There's a few that do that are really obsessed with that, and they tend to be a lot of the bigger names that do a lot of jibber jabbering on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, I've been in this game for a long, long time. And I can tell you things come and go. And every year there's going to be something different. One year it's going to be this. One moment it's going to be that. You remember the phase where Martin Burkham from Lean Gains got extremely lean and everybody was doing intermittent fasting. And if you said there was any other way, you'd get clubbed like a seal and da-da-da-da-da, right? There's always something. It'll all – next week it'll be only do 5 to 8 rep ranges. And then the week after that, it'll be rest pause. We're always going to take the big picture. That's what I do here in Massive Iron World. We look at the commonalities in training over the last 70 years, and we use that as a grounding point and starting point. If you want to add these other tools in, you absolutely can, but they're optional tools, and they're not mandatory, and they're not magic. Did overheads, pull-ups, close grip bench, and machine rows on Tuesday. I did 3x10 on close grips, okay? Could have gone a bit heavier, but on the program, it said I should do the exercise with it. All right, I'm unpacking this. So if it felt easy, but the program said you should do it with a challenging weight. So it was probably too easy, right? Not challenging enough. Challenging, you probably should be 1 to 2 reps, really close to a rep away from failure on that last set. Does that make sense? I hope that helps some. Let's see. Ghostface would like some goldfish crackers. We'll get you a juice box as well. Just tell me your favorite flavor. Is it Wango Tango Berry Wary, or is it orangey mandarin nectarine, grapefruit, tutti fruit, lutti fruit, tutti fruit? Just tell me. We'll get you a juice box as well. Let's see, where are we at? Sorry, I lost track. Jason, is it worth tracking your warm-ups? Well, you want to do a consistent warm-up structure. So, I mean, do I track my warm-ups on dumbbell bench? Well, I'm only doing 1 to 2 warm-up sets, so I kind of know where I'm at. But no, you don't have to track them. As long as you have a good structure and you know it's very defined, you'll be fine. Happy Friday, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. What's your opinion on training with only 2 to 3 hours of sleep the night before? If you feel okay, right? I mean, there's no harm and no shame in taking a rest day and getting some sleep. But if you're feeling kind of a burst of energy, as far as as good as you can get, and you want to go into the gym, just take it set by set. Maybe do 2 sets per exercise. Maybe you're done with bench and you're like, I'm feeling great. I'm going to do 3 sets of dumbbell bench. Maybe you're feeling, hung out to dry. Maybe you only do 2 sets of dumbbell bench or want to get out of the gym. Just play it by ear and be safe. Ian, why do most? That's not most, Ian. It's not most. Ian, we love you. Most influencers are not doing mainly only lateral raises. The most you are watching you need to unplug from them. Because, Ian, I mean this with love. Every question from you, Ian, is what's the magic sets? What's the magic exercise? What's the magic frequency? What's the magic volume? You need to get my book, Ian. And I mean this respectfully. My 10 pillars of success. Most influencers do not mainly do lateral raises for shoulders. You might be watching a couple, but look, you can't. I'm going to say this not to Ian, but to anybody. You go into the gym and you're overloading your chest with bench and dumbbell bench and machine chest press and pec deck and whatever. You're going in on for legs during a week, whatever frequency you're using. You're doing squats and leg press, and boom, you're hitting them with big stuff with big progression opportunities. And then you get to your little shoulder work each week, and you pick up the side lateral raises, and you got your 15s, right? Right? There's no progression opportunity there. Progressive overload is a requirement for growth. There are no magic exercises that you can do that negate the need for progressive overload. I'm not saying that to Ian. I'm saying that in general. You can't just do side lateral raises. They have no progression opportunity. I do side lateral raises every week, but they're my 4th tier exercise. You're not going to build big shoulders with lateral raises alone because they have no progression opportunity. I've been doing them for 40 years. You're lucky to get past 40s. One of the exercises I created to circumvent that was the bulldozer lateral. You can search that on my channel. Even that's only a tier 3 exercise. Anybody that doesn't do overhead pressing, a primary movement pattern, that thinks that doesn't believe it hits their side delts, you shouldn't be watching, folks. You need to unfollow these people. You're not going to get big shoulders doing only lateral raises. It's nonsense. It will never work. There's no progression opportunity only on side lateral raises. There's none. You're not going to wake up doing 100s on side lateral raises 10 years from now. So anybody that is in this world, you need to stop following, to be quite honest with you. Is it normal even during a bulk to occasionally lose reps? Yeah, absolutely. That's just a normal part of training. There are too many variables. Your sleep can come and go. Your body recovery can come and go. Your glycogen can come and go. When you get to that good intermediate stage, you're going to see maybe every 3rd or 4th workout, you might lose a rep on a set or 2. It just depends, but don't panic. Reps you lose, you always get back, right? Unless you do something radical with your diet. That's just part of the ebb and flow. The rule here is this. When you're normal eating or bulking, reps you lose, you'll always get back. So a rep in hand is always yours forever, even if you temporarily lose it. But so don't ever worry about that. Okay? That's the rule. Is it true that getting stronger on a few exercises will help improve strength on other exercises? Strength builds strength, okay? That's why we want to use a well-rounded group of exercises. Think about the shotgun approach. People sometimes want to know, if I get strong traps, how much is that going to build up my deadlift? Who knows? But I do know that if you don't have strong traps, it's going to make the deadlift harder. In the massive iron world, we focus on getting everything from head to toe as strong as humanly possible. Strength builds strength, and having a reasonable selection of exercises for every area is going to help you build well-rounded strength. That's the power building philosophy that I teach. We don't just do one exercise for chest. Why would we do only bench? We want to do bench and dumbbell bench and maybe a plate-loaded chest press, and then maybe finish off with barrel press or pec deck. We want to go hard and then go as hard as we can in the next one. We want to use a wide variety of movement patterns and approaches within reason, without trying to overbloat our programs. Strength builds strength. If a secondary lift randomly feels off or heavy on a certain week, would you try lowering the weight a bit and see how it feels, or just skip it? Good question. So you're going to go in and probably do the first set, right? Or maybe if it feels heavy during warm-ups, that's usually your central nervous system telling you something's not right. So if it feels heavy during warm-ups, you probably want to deload that and drop that down to 2 sets, maybe even 1 set, and just hold steady. You're not going to lose strength. You're not going to lose muscle, but you can place that in kind of let's just hold this steady until next week. If you do the first set and it felt like, wow, let's say you did bench and it felt normal, and then you do dumbbell bench and the first set is like, wow, I just stop it. You can drop the weight a little bit and do another set if you want. That's perfectly okay. Either one would be fine. The problem is I have is tracking is I feel like I end up messing up form. Ian, you have to be focused during your sets. How is tracking messing up your exercise form? Tracking is not causing you to try to cheat, Ian. Okay? You have to be reasonable here. You have to stay, we're focused on maximizing and getting as many safe quality reps as possible. You always stop every set when you are no longer getting quality reps. We're not trying to chase numbers and randomly improve over last week at any cost or expense. Okay. Let's say you did dumbbell curls 25s for 8s last time and you tracked it, you logged it. We're not just going to get 9 at any expense, even if we're cheating it and using it momentum. That's dumb training. That's ineffective training. I'm not saying a cheat rep can't have value, but tracking is different than safely progressing. Tracking is monitoring how many safe quality reps we are getting. Trying to cheat to get more reps than last time is just junk training. It has nothing to do with tracking. How beneficial is it to have your own barbell collars? I love having my own. I got 2 sets of the lockjaws or whatever they are, and I keep one in my gym bag because I will tell you when I go to a commercial gym, I don't want to be at the hands of your butterfly collars that have been used a million times. They're all deformed and twisted and loose, and one sliding off the end of a barbell while the others, you can't get it on the barbell. I like having my lockjaw collars. And I have my Ric Flair socks in my gym bag as well. Why? Why do I have Ric Flair socks in my gym bag? Because you have that lock, that clamping collar, and you go to a commercial gym and all of a sudden it's loose at the end of a barbell because they got some ganky ass, nasty ass barbells at their gym. And your lockjaw is sliding. So what do? You keep a Ric Flair sock in your gym bag, and in that lockjaw, you slide that sock in there to create a little bit of extra pressure. Then you lock it in, and you close some of that distance of that small ass undersized barbell. I do. I love it. They're only like what, 10, 12 bucks. How do you know if you have the potential to be a professional athlete in powerlifting? There's not many. Well, it depends on what you need by professional. There's about 2 power lifters. What are there? Like maybe one. I don't think there's any power lifters making an income that they can sustain themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong. They all tend to do stuff on the side for extra work, like coach. How do you know if you have the potential to be an elite power lifter, a world-class power lifter? You train hard for 10 years, and then you see. Right. I mean, there's no way to know. There's no magic answers or wrist sizes or genetic potentials. I stick sticking point in the middle of my heavy bench. If I overhead press heavy to build shoulder strength, is it also reasonable to wide grip bench to build power off the chest? I would say if you're interested in well-rounded training, you want to do a little bit wider benching and then maybe some normal or even close grip benching getting in a little bit of variety. You want to do overhead presses as well, barbell and dumbbell overheads. You also want to do some focused chest work. So we can't rely on the bench only. I want you to get your dumbbell bench in, try to get those up. 3 sets of 10, try to get those up in weight. Control them down. You can even go for a slight chest stretch at the bottom and press up if you want, just to make sure you're working that chest, and maybe add in barrel press as well. I think you can do the step down from dumbbell bench to barrel press, or you could even work in the guillotine press as a tool to help you build up your chest strength. A guillotine press, you have more arms flared. You bring it down more here, but it's like a barrel press. You only bring it down until you get that slight stretch in your chest, and then you press back up. We're not trying to choke ourselves or take it so low we destroy our shoulders. If you know what your maintenance calories are at a given body weight, is there any need to go to maintenance for a short period after a diet? Well, I like to do it for my weight to settle. I like to do it as a kind of a learning experience. You don't have to if you want to jump straight into a bulk. As a coach, I want to see somebody at maintenance for 5 days for a couple of reasons. Number one, to see how much weight they gain and where we kind of steady out at maintenance, because they could have a new maintenance level that might be slightly higher or slightly different. And number two, I want to dissuade or discourage that lifter from getting off a cut and bloat loading, right? Going way too much bounce back. I got off a cut, I'm going to eat everything. All of a sudden, I'm up 8 pounds and we're screwed, right? So those are the reasons why I do what I do. How many hours do you sleep? I feel like 7 to 9 is unrealistic. You just do what you can. There is some science that shows, and I don't want to go too deep in the science, but that having the same sleep routine each day is almost as good as sleeping the same number of hours each day. So do your best to have the same sleep patterns daily if you can. That should be of some benefit. I find with undersleeping, when it occurs, some days you feel great, some days you feel awful. It's hard to pick it. Paladin. Would it be best to program seated barbell overhead twice per week with different rep ranges, or using the Smith? I would use the Smith. I would always go with a little bit of different variety. Is it going to be game-changing? No. I'm always kind of aware of the possibility of overuse injuries. So a little bit of variety, even if it's micro variety, I would lean that way. Favorite Avengers movie? I don't know. Is it okay to say I'd like to watch just the first two as a whole thing? Your advice about dealing with incompetent people. Number one, understand they don't have the right to waste your time. Okay? I'm not necessarily going to be rude with people. I try not to be rude, but I will be stern in the sense that no one has a right to waste your time. Now, there are different circumstances in life. If you're at work with somebody, you can't be a dick, right? You have to be diplomatic. So in diplomatic situations, we have to oftentimes shut our mouth and go to the path of least resistance. At work, I always focused on doing my job and getting out and sleeping well and letting the supervisors solve the supervisor problems of incompetent people. But outside of environments like that, where you're not going to fire or lose your employment, some of it can be nuanced. I mean, if you get on the IRS hotline or whatever, and you need something from someone on the other end of the phone and they're incompetent, it's easy to get frustrated, but you don't want to get angry and get booted off the line, right? And lose all that valuable time. So you have to be nuanced in those situations. But outside of those situations in life, if I hire someone, if somebody is coming to me and they are incompetent, I will not let them waste my time. I will say, look, kind sir, this is not working. I have to go. I'm sorry. I will not be rude for the sake of being rude, but I will be stern, and I will not let anybody steal my time or resources. No one has a right to do that. I'm 67 and I want to get stronger on the standing overhead. I struggle progressing with 5 pounds. I would definitely get some microplates. You can get microplates for a reasonable price. Then we could slap on, like £1.25 And I think that would be a really good option for you, Kevin. Let me know if you need any help with those. Don't hesitate to email me, benthebarman@gmail.com, or message me on Instagram, or contact me any way that makes sense. To answer your question, yes, the program that I'm doing is percentage based. That's respectable. 4 weeks really isn't a lot to get. You're really not going to, I don't really think you're going to learn a lot or get a lot out of a 4-week program. It could tell you if you want to continue for another 4 weeks. There's no harm in that. Calcium. I watched your video on basic programming and realized my high volume phase was 140 sets a week. Not laughing at you, not judging you. That would kill me. Yeah, it's almost impossible to do 140 sets hard. That's probably going to be a lot of junk volume. I don't know. I don't know anything about your training. I could probably do 90 to 100 hard sets a week if I had 6 days a week and all the time in the world. So some of it is, depends on the individual. I have 15% body fat. Can you talk about a mental aspect of building coming from obese background? This can be a tough one. It really can. I see a lot of folks that lose a lot of weight or come from an obese background and they're hesitant to bulk, and I completely get that. One of the things we have to do to combat that is we have to plan. We have to create a structure. We have to meal plan our times, our calories. We also have to understand that we're not going to do any fat bulks, okay? That's why I have the massive iron bulking system where we do a 10-pound bulk and then a 10-pound cut, and it's very controlled. You could even do an 8-pound bulk over 4 months just as a baby break-in. But if you want to build muscle, you're going to have to do this eventually. I'm not going to try to, use all kinds of psychology and try to motivate you. I'm just going to simply tell you that's the only way to do things. And that's the way you have to do things. So at some point, you're going to have to wait till you're ready and say, I'm going to test an 8 to 10 pound bulk. Pizza night here tomorrow. When we put the tree up each year, that sounds like a lot of fun. Polar Express, not my favorite movie, but no judgment at all. I'd probably watch Ralphie and A Christmas Story, but to each his own, right? Each his own. Walmart frozen Quest pizza. I've not tried that. I'm not actually. I haven't done a frozen pizza in probably 10 years. No disrespect. I'm not against them. I just haven't seen it. I haven't tried it. So when I was a fatty McFat-tard, what I would do is take a frozen pizza and put like 6 to 8 ounces of cheese on top of that, and then put jalapenos. So I'd have like 22, 23, 2,400 calories. Speaking of which, stream is making me hungry. Yeah, we're getting there, aren't we? I like keeping those on hand. Not sure what you're talking about. Oh, the pizzas. I think the meat one is like 70 protein, 800 calories. That's not bad, though. A lot of those pizzas can be a little bit lighter on protein than you expect, so that's pretty reasonable. Could you add a service working out once with me? It would be great. Yeah, I want to get people down here in my home gym. We just moved down here about a year ago, but I used to do that a lot. I don't charge people, so we'll figure out what we can do. Big Eric, how would you program the log clean and press? So first off, I need to know what your workout structure looks like. Because I'd like to know what your split is, upper, lower, upper, posterior, torso, limbs, full body, whatever. If you can tell me that and like what your other shoulder work is, that would be really, really helpful. For a log clean and press, in general, I would probably start with 2, 3, or 4 rep sets. Very meticulous. so the lower back didn't become fatigued, because we want to build up strength in a smart zone, if that makes sense. Harut, client of mine, machine fly versus cable fly, pros and cons. How do I determine height of the cable fly? So I like to kind of pull from down up, like elbow is rising a little bit on the cable fly. I don't like to go like this, but you can, if that feels natural for you, going a little bit high and coming down. There's three main positions. Your elbows are staying kind of on a plane, a horizontal plane. Okay. That's kind of like a pec deck action. Horizontal plane, your elbows are staying there. In all of these, you want to focus on driving the elbows together towards the center of your body to facilitate a chest feel. When you're coming down from your elbows are rising, you want to bring your elbows together and you can really feel that lower chest. Coming down, your elbows, you can feel the chest working just in a different way. There's no real magic. Just understand those three planes. Play around with them really lightly. Pros and cons, many cable systems have really awkward leverage profiles. So it can be hard to progress on them. They can be used as a good finisher, a good rest pause finisher, or as a superset tool. The pec deck or the machine fly generally has a much better leverage profile and progression opportunity. So when I was at Tiger Fitness, my last place of employment, their cable crossover sucked so badly, I couldn't get past the 20s. When I moved up to the 30s, it was so ganky, I just couldn't do it. So it was not a good machine. If you have a decent machine, the cable fly, you can kind of lean in and get that good stance, and you can really kind of focus and brace yourself a little bit. I think that's a pro. The machine fly, you have a little bit more progression opportunity. I would say if the cable fly feels okay for you, I would probably alternate every other week between the two. I overthink stuff too. I also have a PhD, so I value the science stuff. I like Team Massive because it helps me it keeps me in the right space for lifting. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you being on there. Let's see. One thing I like about Team Massive is you guys will give me a lot of good information. It helps me learn and grow as well. Things that are going on in the industry. Nolan, a client of mine, Nolan's doing wonderful work. Happy Friday to you. We got about 5 more questions left. So if you have any questions, get them in now. What progression method after bulldozer work would you recommend if you hit kind of a struggle point? I'd have to know the exercise, because each exercise, the demands are unique. So I'd have to know which exercises. You can do, threes protocol, last set, max reps. There's nothing that's going to be magic, but what I would do is try something for a phase of 3 months and then try something different the next 3 months. One of the best things you can do if you feel stuck is just to try something new or fresh every 3 months. That will be more of the magic, if that makes sense. What is your take on using microplates? Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to slow down progression. If anything, it'll make it more fluid. I mean, over the long run, it's not really going to slow things. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Does pausing the bar on the chest on bench for a brief second help increase power output? Really what it does is teach you control. If you're a bar bouncer or you're having a hard time staying tight as you descend, a pause will force you to stay tight. And you want to be tight into the hole so you can generate max power. A lot of people get loose. So the main benefit of a pause is it helps teach you how to maintain proper tightness. YouTubers, and specifically a newer one called Scientific Snatch, are now stating bulking as don't unfollow. Don't listen to this nonsense. you should be able to gain just as much muscle eating at maintenance. In his mind, yeah, no, wrong. Curious to know how, guys, all you need to do is eat a calorie surplus and you'll recover better. And you'll, I know, I can tell you from years and years of coaching that it's much easier to progress on your presses, specifically when you're in a calorie surplus. When you lose a lot of weight like me, you understand the value of calories. Most major coaches understand the value of proper bulking. So unsub. Curious to know how you would structure a 2-day or 3-day a week full body program using exercises. I have some home gym full body stuff. I don't have time right now to do a home gym full body, but I will say any of you guys that want to put together a program and have me critique it, or even bring it to live and have me critique it live, I'd be more than happy to do so. I just don't have time to build. But I do have plenty of, if you check out the workout tab I have on my website, I do have plenty in there. Check out my workout collection. You can just search workout collection. That's like 347 pages of workouts, tons of full bodies in there. And working out with me could be in a commercial gym. yeah, no, I'm all for it. I just, the problem is time. Like, I don't have time to travel. I stay exceptionally busy. I'm trying to launch a workout tracker app, but I do need to do meetups, more specifically here in my home gym or in a commercial gym. Thanks for answering my question. I've been enjoying Bulldozer Method, Seated Smith. Great. That's a wonderful choice. Just thinking ahead, I've been doing death by deadlifts programs. Ian, out of curiosity, if someone is 200 pounds, 6'2" at 25, could they recomp to 200? You mean add muscle? In a deficit, it's going to be very, very difficult to add muscle unless you're an absolute beginner. You could add a couple pounds during the process, but it's like trying to dig a hole with the wrong end of the shovel. All right, guys, that's it. I appreciate you watching. Wonderful, wonderful Q&A today. Excuse me. I'll be on here every Friday at 11 Eastern. I will be finding out shortly if I won Coach of the Year again. I'm not betting on it, but wish me luck. And please head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. Ian, thank you. I hope you never feel like I'm picking on you, man. I just want the best for you. And thank you, David. And thank you. You guys have a wonderful weekend.